What's happening? Andy here. I am joined today by President and CEO of Sharp Electronics, Mike Marusic. How are you doing today, Mike?
Very good, Andy. Good to see you again. I feel like I've seen a lot of you lately. I'm ready to go. I have my What's Happening hat, which is very convenient, for someone like myself who maybe just is a little bit challenged up top. So thank you very much for the hat.
Well, I like to say you have an excellent barber. We probably share the same person. That actually is a retro hat. That might be one of the originals. So hold that one because I'm sure it'll be worth at least
collector's item.
At least $2 or $3 at some point. Pleasure having you on. You're always so willing and gracious to come on the show. And again, we did just see you last week at BTA Fall Colors Retreat. Sharp was down there. You guys were showcasing your displays, your Windows Media display actually, and very cool display. Actually, you had this huge pile of cables sitting there. I noticed when I went by, and I started making fun of the people sitting there, saying, "What is this mess?" And I walked right into it because they said, "Well, this is the mess that you don't need if you
don't need it." Exactly.
So it was actually very, very nicely set up. It looked great, had a lot of people around it. So you can see some pictures of that in my review that I'm in the process of writing. But you were actually in a what I would call a power panel. It was you and representatives from Konica Minolta and Ricoh, three of the bigger companies and companies we all have eyes on in this space, right, in the A3 print space. And you were talking about all sorts of things. Bob Goldberg, the BTA General Counsel, had a whole bunch of questions, and I kind of wanted to dig a little deeper into some of your responses. Right? They were very timely, and it's probably not the most comfortable topic for you to talk about, but maybe more so for you than some of your competitors, from what you were saying. Let's jump right into it. Supply chain. What's happening with Sharp and their supply chain?
Yeah, it is the number one topic in the industry, and I guess in pretty much every industry right now. And, it's been quite the year as we looked at the supply chain, and we have been fortunate. And, maybe I'll get into a little bit some of the things we've done in the past, but we really started planning for this disruption in October of last year. So it's been over a year that we've been working through this. And, I joked at BTA with the dealers that in April, we did a kickoff meeting with our dealer community. And we spent about 20, 30 minutes out of our kickoff meeting virtually on supply chain. And that was April. And, people at the time said, "Mike, it was a good meeting, but a little too much on supply chain. Like, I don't get it." And, we said, "Well, you will."
Do now.
And,
right?
yeah, so it's been a crazy year. And, the supply chain is the number one issue for the industry right now.
So with that, you alluded to a few moves that you guys made, and but actually, before we get into them, I know a lot of companies are struggling. Where is Sharp right now? I know you made some reference to some moves. You said for the most part, you actually kind of skated along. You had a bit of a hiccup one of the months where it didn't sound like it was as smooth as you would have liked, but you're still, I guess, ahead of the pack in most frames of measurement or reference. So, but what, where does Sharp stand now? Are dealers getting product? What types of product are available? And maybe where are you? Maybe you're running a little dry, and you're advising dealers to either look at other options or stock up.
Sure.
Where is the supply chain right now for you?
Our overall position is pretty solid. As you mentioned, we had a hiccup at the end of September. Unfortunately, we had 100 containers. I mean, that's a really huge number. 100 containers that sat off the coast of Long Beach in California from the beginning of September all the way into the end of the month and into October. And so that was the first time that we had any what I would call significant back orders, where we exited the month with more than a couple % of our shipments in back order. For the most part, that's all shipped now. I mean, like I said, the containers were there. It's pretty much all shipped. I knew I was talking to you today, so I made sure of that, we caught up already. And, right now, we've been running since April over our 2019 shipment levels for hardware. So that gives you a good perspective of, overall supply chain issues. And really for us, it's less about what I would call the chip shortage and production issue. We really don't have an issue there. We've been able to produce our products at the same levels of before the pandemic. We've been able to pick up market share. All those are good things. But we are like the others. We have a struggle with getting things into the country. And so I always say, when we talk about supply chain, maybe we have a couple chinks at one end of the chain that are a problem, But for the most part, on the production side, we've been pretty solid. So it's overall, it's been pretty good experience. Hopefully, for a sharp dealer, the feedback we're getting is relative to competitors. Yes, we're in a good spot, and they enjoy being able to deliver product to their customers.
Well, there's nothing you can do about the stuff sitting on the dock, on the docks, and worse on the ships, right? Those containers are going to sit there until they get unloaded, and yours could be sitting right next to your competitor. So you're all I'm going to say it. You're all in
Same pain.
You're all in the same boat. But
you went there.
Yeah. But you just kind of touched on, and I want to get a little further into that. What did you do? Why are you not suffering from these chip issues? Everybody's got these same chips. And unfortunately, apparently, cars are more important than copiers these days, and a lot of them seem to be allocated towards the automotive industry, not just ours, but global, right? And these office equipment printers, these MFPs, these scanners, all this hardware that we use, not just one chip. There's multiple chips, chip on top of chip and chip, and so when you don't get one, that's tough. But when you can't get a bunch of them that need to go in there. And so you guys have done some things to re-engineer, pull chips out of other equipment. Tell me what you did to get around that, because that is one area I'm hearing from other companies that is still a challenge, and you seem to be dancing around that a little bit.
Yeah, as I mentioned, we started this project really back in October of a year ago, and before anyone was really aware of the issue. And, being part of the Foxconn family, so to speak, we got a little bit of heads up what they were seeing, that, they know what the orders look like going out. They know what the challenges will be. And we realized that, there's going to be an obstacle coming sometime in the spring of, this year. And so the first thing we did is ramp up production, right? Start ordering more products, start ordering more chips, get to the front of the line. And then, that put us in a pretty good spot. And then we looked at really what chips were going to have a problem. And we had, great communication with our factory and production teams. And, we said, okay, well, if this is a problem, let's work around it. So in some cases, we actually redesigned boards. We said, hey, this chip is going to be in short supply. Let's redesign the board and get a new board in there that won't have a problem. And so I think, you pointed this out. There are so many, really, we call it a chip problem, but it's chips and sensors. And sensors really are the biggest issue. And so, if you're missing one, you can't make the product. And so that really was a big obstacle. And so we've spent a lot of time really planning out what product feature sets we're going to, focus on, what products to focus on, shifting production between different products. And if you're a sharp dealer, you're aware, we've been talking about a common platform for our product line for about 10 years now. And I think a sharp dealer right now is seeing the advantage of that, because if we start to see that one of our product lines is getting a little low, we can shift production from one to another and leverage a lot of those chips. So I think that has been a big advantage in that we did those types of actions very early in the process. Another big thing we did, and we do have an allocation problem. It's on our A4 printers. And, we made the decision that for a dealer, we can sell you a $600 printer, or we can sell you a $6,000 copier. And ultimately, we felt best for the dealer, exactly, would be shift some of those sensors and chips from our A4 product line to our A3. And that really did provide our dealer community with a lot of incremental revenue, a lot more GP. And that really, I think, was a set aside for us that really was a differentiator. Many of our competitors didn't do that. And so, I think one of our, competitors even mentioned in a video to their people that, hey, we're not going to stop our A4 production. Well, I'm proud to say we did. And we did it to get you more A3. And I think that has had a lot of value for our dealers. So, it's kind of a lot of little things that we ended up putting together that allowed us to keep the production levels high. And so, like I said, we haven't dropped below that 2019 production level. Now, like many others, I do have an obstacle. I try to get more. I am greedy. We have no production obstacle. And so we've been trying to get more and more product. That is harder. Obviously, we haven't had any of our, chip allotments cut. And I think, again, I go back to that Foxconn alliance because, when you look at their buying power, I don't think a chip company is going to decide to forego a relationship there. And so, we're getting what we've been requested, months and months in advance and what we budgeted for. It is harder, candidly, to get additional incremental product. We continue to work and continue to fight to do that. But it's not, I'd love to get 30–40% more product right now. That is harder to do. But I think from a production standpoint, we're in great space.
So are you selling everything that's coming in? Is it flying off the shelves? And are you seeing, I know Sharp is very well known actually for being you have a lot of single line dealers, right? Yeah. But really what I'm interested in is these dual line dealers, because this is going to be a market share shift. If you have products and somebody else does not have products, if I was the dealer, I'm going to sell what I have and what I'm able to get, right? So you mentioned your numbers for this year were actually higher than 2019. That's pre-pandemic, if I'm understanding that right. I haven't heard anybody else say anything like that. Everybody's comparing their numbers to pandemic numbers. I'm expecting there's a big X that's going to put their numbers out this week, and they're just going to be beating their drum about how great their numbers are compared to last year when they didn't sell anything. So all of that needs to be taken with a grain of salt. But to compare them to 2019, kind of bold. I wouldn't think anybody was actually up. So tell me, how are you gaining market share at a time when customers aren't in the office? Is it really just because you have product? Is it just a shift with your dual line dealers, or is it just everybody's just selling better right now?
I think it's all above it. Really continued momentum we had. I mean, so first of all, the pandemic period, we're not allowed. I don't let anyone talk about 2020 numbers. That is not allowed. We that is taking a crutch to things. So every one of our reports, even our financial reports, I said don't include versus last year. So all the columns versus last year is a little parentheses in it, and it says actual 2019, because I don't want any conversation about 2020. That was an off year. Now, candidly, our kind of shifting of the business really happened in 2020 and 2019. This is our third year of significant market share growth. And, we had a great year in the pandemic. I mean, I'll be honest, our business did not drop as severe as many of our competitors did. And we took a lot of steps, we've talked about that before, to support our dealers during that period. And I think now going into this year, a couple things have happened. If you're a Sharp only dealer, we have inventory. Since July, we've been very transparent with our dealers. We have been sending out what we call a heat map that shows every model we have, how much inventory we have as far as color coded versus run rate. So every dealer can understand we have 1 month supply, 2 month supply, half a month, or we're going to be out at the end of the month. And that allows a dealer to really plan out their business and quote product that they know they're going to have. So we give a 2 month foresight. We don't know the incoming all the time, so it gets a little harder there. So that's why we only do the 2 months. But that way a dealer can say, well, we know it's green, which means we will end the month with more than 1 month of run rate in the warehouse. So that gives the dealer a good indication, like that's safety stock, we're good. And they can go out and quote it. And then we go all the way down to candidly black, which means we're going to run out. So it goes, yellow, orange, red, black. So I think, for the most part, we're in the green. We have a couple of yellows and a couple of reds, and red just means that at the end of the month, we're going to have less than half a month of inventory. So, that's tight, but it still means we have inventory in the barn. Yeah. So Sharp only dealers, we're seeing that they're outpacing the market as far as the data we've seen from IDC, meaning that our volumes with them are above the market average, which means our Sharp only dealers are picking up share. That's really important to me, that they're taking advantage of this opportunity when others are short. I've heard comments from dealers like, you don't know how nice it is when I go into a customer and say, I can deliver this week. That is a selling point that many of their peers can't offer. And a lot of Sharp only dealers are really leveraging that. In our dual line dealers, as you point out, sales reps are going to move to where they can earn a commission. I think that's a fair statement. So, we have inventory, and our share in dual line dealers is obviously up significantly. And that's been, the bigger part of moving the needle for market share shift, because we're getting more and more of the dual line dealers, because we're able to deliver product and have been for the last 6-8 months.
So one of the things you talked about at the BTA on the panel, and I don't think I got video of it, which is why I'm going to ask this like I'm pretending I don't know the answer, so I can sort of lead you down that path. But let's say there's a dealer, and you've got some monsters out there, POA, Marco, all copy. Let's say there's a dealer that just wants to load up their warehouse and give you just a massive, massive order, right? fairness comes into play.
Yeah.
You know, you have to weigh a monster order versus the fact that you're going to have a whole bunch of phone calls. Yeah, how do you manage that? What's the process like? Maybe tell me a story of how it has happened so far, because
Well, yeah, I got to be careful. This is all
you don't
highly
need a name.
distributed
You don't need
video.
a name,
And
but you know, well,
I did, I did. It was funny, a few months back, I had a dealer, a very large dealer, contact me and say, hey, we want to make a very large, order of product, a couple
everything you
months of
got.
the normal run rate. And, we talked for about 45 minutes on the phone of what was perceived as a negotiation. I opened with, no, I can't do that. And then we negotiated for 45 minutes. But at the end of of me still saying, we can't do that for you. They kind of, I will be careful in my language, but used, shall we say, sailor language, and said, that is the strangest conversation I've ever had. You do realize that I'm the dealer and I'm asking to place an order. You're the manufacturer saying no. We've just flipped 30 years of copier industry experience on its head. And, the reason we do that, it would be unfair. I mean, obviously, self-centered, yes, it would have been very nice to hit that order, grab that order, and figure it out the next day. But with all the unpredictability, I wouldn't be able to figure it out the next day in an accurate fashion. So, we are allocating. It is frustrating. I get it to some dealers because we do put everything on allocation. Not because we don't have the product, but because a dealer could go in and place that order and just take it, and it'd be out the door before I could do anything about it. So we do watch to make sure that dealers are buying at a fair level, right? So we are picking up shares. So we are seeing dealers buying more and more over time. But we don't allow dealers to load up 2 or 3 months of inventory. We kind of look at it and say, this is a fair allotment of inventory. We've had one of the best, I laugh, and tough for our VP of sales, John Sheehan, but we have most of our dealers are at their full year quota already. And, we're midway through October, we got 2 months to go. And he points that out to me all the time. He goes, you do realize that our dealers are at quota for the year already. So it is, that is good, but that's how we look at it. We say, okay, are all our dealers able to progress towards their annual, quota attainment, so that's fairly allocated. And we said we allocated the quota one way, let's allocate product the exact same way, so that's equitable to everybody. And we've held to it. It's been a challenge, but we've held to it.
I bet it has. You've got some strong personalities. I'm sure that we're making their case for getting more of them.
Absolutely.
Share. Supplies and parts, we didn't really talk about that, but how are you guys, that has been a concern for certain companies, more so than others, but everybody seems to be getting through it at this point. Where are you guys with that?
Yeah, we've had no significant problems. I mean, there's time to time where we'll have, on the parts side, we'll have a low volume part that will be out for a little while. That's not tied to supply chain. That's more of internal challenge or older products typically, where someone's looking for a product and, it's been discontinued for many, many years. And be candid, yes, we have challenges there. On our mainline products and the current distribution, no issues with supplies, no issues, with the parts. We seem to be able to provide that each and every month. And, I think the supply thing is the taboo, right? You can't ever, explain to a customer, don't worry, I'm going to send you a bill this month to the copier you have, but you just can't copy anything or print anything on it.
Yeah.
So, we've been very, very careful.
Yeah.
And we were, I would say I miss, that a little bit of luck, right? I misforecasted when people would return to the office, and we felt that we would need to have a very large, we didn't know, right? If you think about a supply situation, no one's been in the office for 6 months, your normal monthly turnover of your service department and knowing what's in the supplies and knowing what's there is predictable. If no one's checked it for 5 or 6 months because no one's in the office, you could hit a month where you could really get orders for 3 or 4 months of your normal supply turnover in a singular month. And so we really did load up on supply a full year. It's been a challenge, obviously. We like to keep our inventories at a manageable level. And I've been carrying the inventory for quite some time. But it's protected us, as people do return. And as you do have port issues and you have other challenges, we have the inventory.
Very cool. So you've managed it well. You guys should be commended for, I haven't really heard the struggles I've heard from other dealers here and there. Sharp doesn't seem to come up in that vein. Let's wrap up with just a look ahead at the next 12 months and what do you see for 2022? More of the same? Do you think it'll get better? Do you think it'll get worse from a product standpoint and just an industry health standpoint? What do you think is going to happen in the next 12 months or so?
Yeah, I think the supply chain will not get that much better in the near term. And I know, there were a couple months ago I heard predictions, in some of these videos, and it's going to get better in the fall. And maybe we just had a different insight. But I kept saying, our team was like, hey, everyone's saying it's going to get better in the fall, and I said, don't worry, it's not. It really will be tough. And it will be tough.
Which fall, right? Which fall?
Yeah, I will say we will be, certainly the supply chain with the ports will continue way into the summer of next year. There is zero doubt in my mind. The entire system is just overloaded right now. And, if you're a dealer out there, there's no question it's hard to hire right now. Certainly if, warehouse people, truckers, delivery people, it's hard. And so that is you can solve the port, but if it can't go anywhere, it's not going through the system, right? The chip shortage, not too different. I don't think it'll be as severe as it was earlier this summer, where there were some unpredictable things. One, there was a fire, actually two fires over in Japan at a particular factory. So yeah, so that that really changed things and caused a temporary hiccup. But the overall issue of production versus the chip supply is off, and it's out of kilter. And so the demand for products with chips, which is pretty much anything with as an on-off button, it's just a struggle. So I think that type of issue won't go away, certainly until the spring. Everything we're seeing, I think there were comments made, in the BTA roundtable that, recent information that some of our competitors heard. We're no different. We're hearing the same thing. The chip challenge is not going away as quickly as everyone expected. And so I think for dealers, it really is going to be a more leveling out of those problems. I think all of us will get better at the predictability in the supply chain and kind of anticipating what can come in and what won't. But you can have a situation where all your product is the last boat out in the water, and you can miss a month. And we're trying to get ahead of that. Like I said, for the most part, I finished last month, even in September, with about half a month of inventory. We had a lot of back order. Right now, we're running. We'll finish October with about 1 month's worth of inventory still in the warehouse at the end of the month. Now that's on average, right? You do have models here and models there that will be tighter. And I think that's kind of the level that I expect to see going forward. Normally we keep candidly a lot more than 1 month of inventory in our warehouses. So it is a bit of a challenge, but we continue to try to solve it by bringing in a product and distributing in the right warehouse.
Wow. Well, I sleep a lot better than you do, man. I don't know how you and your team are getting through this, but it sounds like you are doing a pretty good job of it. Always appreciate you coming on and just being straight with us and telling us what's really happening, what's happening out there. Any last shout outs to anyone, any last message you'd like to leave as we wrap up?
Well, I really would like to thank all of our dealers because, they've been very gracious to us during this period. And, as good as we're doing, right, it's still not perfect. And, as I say, when I meet with dealers, this is your business. You have a lot invested in it, and you trust us as your supplier. And that is a big responsibility. Sales reps, same thing. I mean, this is your commission, right? You do all that work selling a product, and then the product isn't available, and you can't sell it. So, I thank you where we have had hiccups, and I want to thank you for your patience. We are working very hard to eliminate that, and I'm grateful that people feel we're doing well. Internally, we have a different perspective. If it's not 100%, then we're not doing well. And so, we're really trying to grind through it and make sure that we prevent any, outages going forward.
It sounds like so far, you've done about as well as you can. So applaud you guys. Again, thanks for coming on. This is always a pleasure to talk with you, Mike. And we'll catch up real soon. Take care.
Great. Thank you again, Andy. Great seeing everyone.